he's a class act. He really is. They don't make him like Will anymore. So tonight, what I wanted to do is propose for adoption a resolution, which I will read in a moment. And then we're going to open up the meeting to the public, to anyone who would like to say a few words or more than a few words. So with that, I am going to move to introduce resolution number 131-20, a resolution recognizing Will Harrison. And I'd like to read the resolution. I very much enjoy drafting these resolutions, and Will certainly deserves this resolution. Whereas Will Harrison has resided in East Amwell Township virtually his entire life, and he and his wife of 58 years, Barbara, have raised their family in East Amwell. Whereas over the years, Will has done significant volunteer work, including serving on the East Amwell Board of Education, the East Amwell Historic Preservation Committee, where, among other things, he assisted in the restoration of the so-called Clausen House and its transformation to the East Amwell Township Museum, a subcommittee tasked with making recommendations regarding development in the Ringgoes Village, the Hunterdon County Solid Waste Advisory Council for 17 years, and as chair for 7 years. And Will has informally served as a caretaker for Clausen Park. Whereas Will's most significant contribution to East Amwell has been his service for nearly 30 years on the township's recycling committee, and as the chair of that committee for an amazing 28 years. Whereas under Will's leadership, the recycling committee has operated efficiently and effectively, has served as a model for other communities to follow, has been on the cutting edge of the recycling movement, and has exemplified the environmental awareness and sensitivity of the residents of East Amwell. Whereas it is beyond dispute that Will has been the driving force behind the reliability, duration, and ever-increasing popularity of the Recycling Committee's monthly recycling depots and its annual spring cleanup day. Whereas Will has been a faithful and dedicated public servant and sets a standard for public service for others to aspire to. And whereas the Township Committee of East Amwell would like to officially and formally recognize Will and his family for the many contributions Will has made to our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Committee of East Amwell Township that on behalf of itself and the residents of East Amwell, it hereby acknowledges and expresses its gratitude to Will Harrison and his family for Will's important and selfless volunteer efforts, for serving nearly 3 decades on the Township's Recycling Committee and as chair of that committee for 28 years, for his tireless and enthusiastic hands-on approach of leadership on the Recycling Committee, for promoting and significantly advancing environmental awareness and sensitivity in East Amwell, for his friendship to many in our community, and last but not least, for helping to make East Amwell a wonderful place to live, by order of the Township Committee. And what I'd like to do is present this plaque with the resolution to Will.
Can I move the resolution, please?
Oh, yes.
I make a motion to adopt the resolution.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A resounding aye. Would the family like to come join? Would you like to come on up?
Photo.
I'll get your photo over. I'll send it to you.
Gather round. How's that, Allison?
Perfect.
Good.
Yes. Ready? Say cheese.
Turn your shirt on. They can't see anyway.
Feel better?
No, I don't actually.
Thank you so much.
like to open it up to the public. Well, actually, before I do that, I want to read one thing, and then I'm going to open it up to the public. We got an email from Joyce Corboy, who said, "I will not be able to attend the meeting. However, please wish Will the very best for a happy retirement on my behalf. I thoroughly enjoyed my 17 years working on the recycling committee and wish to express my gratitude to Will for the hard work and devotion he showed to that group. I can't imagine the recycling committee without him, Joyce." With that, if anyone in the room this evening would like to say anything, please feel free to stand up and speak. Go ahead, Mike.
It's very hard to find things to roast Will about.
We'll find something.
There was no drama, but we did have some extended discussions. But 1 month of the year, when the Westminster Kennel Show was on, Joyce would get us out early.
Yes, Andrea.
I'd just like to say, I'm sure everybody said, and you certainly said all the good things that can be said about Will, but something else I'd like to mention, because I think I was maybe on the recycling committee for maybe 4 or 5 years, I'm not sure exactly, and I've done a number of depots, is the magical talent that Will has to bring people together. And at a time when our country is so divided and the Republicans hate the Democrats and the Democrats hate the Republicans, and everybody's looking for a mistake and all that stuff, we really didn't have that on the recycling committee, and we did not have it on the recycling depot. I met a lot of wonderful people, and I think they were inspired by Will, and I'd just like to thank him for that.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Kevin.
Will, thank you very much for your hard work and dedication all these years. It's really been a pleasure. I've served with Will on and off over the last maybe 15 years. And just amazing that you were able to keep it all together for 28 years straight. You did a great job. And I remember the first time I ran the depot by myself. It's like being tossed your dad's keys to the car, right? and Will showed up maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes before the close, and he was very gracious. You know, when I do, you might set the cones like this a little bit. From all of his years of experience. But thank you very much, Will, for your dedication. I really do appreciate it. You've really impacted the community in a very positive way, and for that we're really indebted to you. So thanks so much. And I didn't really know you were retiring. I thought this was just a commendation. You were going to continue on. I'd like to be the same, but I still think you'll be there once in a while with the depot.
Just appearances.
You're going smoothly. So thanks again, Will. Really do appreciate it.
Allison.
Can I take it down? I'm going to fog up if I don't do it. I have something to read to you, Will. This is called an ode to Will Harrison. East Amwell's King of Recycling. 30 years of service, an achievement we cannot ignore. Our recycling king of East Amwell has closed his final dumpster door. What will our chairman do now on those Saturday depot days? No more lining up orange cones, handing out VIPs and turning non-recyclables away. So many tons of recycling have passed through this man's hands. Will has worked so diligently to help our community understand the importance of doing it right. Clean your containers, flatten those boxes. Don't throw your trash in our dumpsters. Remember, we are watching sly as foxes. Spring clean-up day he's run annually with the ultimate precision. No one questioning Will's acceptance of their trash. His was the final decision. 17 years on SWAC. What is that, you may ask? The county's Solid Waste Advisory Council. Quite the dirty task. The landfills and oceans appreciate you, Will, for your years of dedication. How will we continue without your detailed meeting iterations? Happy retirement, Chairman Harrison. Our best we promise we will do. And remember, everyone, reduce, reuse, recycle. Mother Earth and Will Harrison will surely thank you.
Anyone else?
There's got to be a rebuttal here.
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
I don't know if I'll be on camera or not.
You are on camera.
I don't know if I should face the audience or the camera.
I would face the
A
audience.
little bit of both.
You're fine.
Anyway, I have a few remarks I'd like to share with you. First of all, this is not easy for me. This is not what I envisioned when I began my public service career. I want to thank you all, Township, for Rick, for the Township Committee, everybody, and everyone here, for your friendship and fellowship over the years. It's more than just diverting trash from the oceans and the landfills. It's the friendships and the trust that we share as a community. And forgive me if I get just a little bit emotional. That's not really, you don't know me that way, but first of all, I want to mention the article in the VIP. Everyone is, that's your assignment. You got to read my article. It's on page 13 of the VIP. If you all promise that you either have read it or you will read it, that'll shorten my speech tremendously. Okay. This has all been very unexpected. I expect to thank you. But not this. And I just want to accept this honor on behalf of all the volunteers over the years, before I ever showed up, and ongoing. We need more of them, but we need every one of you who volunteers to serve the community mean a lot to me and to everyone else. And I don't see him here tonight. I was going to mention Les Hamilton because I see behind the mask, usually he's here recording, he's a paparazzi. He was here at the beginning. His entree into public service was on the recycling committee. And I just wanted to recognize him. He served on the committee and as a volunteer for many years. I called him in recent years and he wasn't able to serve. Seems, and it's kind of sad, his grandmother died 4 times. But he was a faithful volunteer. It's already been mentioned, this is not my first nor my last public service. I did serve on the school board when the gym and library edition was added. And although I'm not supposed to publish these pictures without the permission of my colleagues on the Historic Preservation Committee, I took the liberty of grabbing these off the internet. This is when we broke ground for that and it's available online if you know where to look. It has, I'm here because I was the chairman of the building committee. Henry Freese with a shovel, Helen Miner, Congresswoman, our friend Carl Passelt, and Art Kern was the chairman of the board. Here's another picture of Helen Miner with the shovel. So anyway, it was an honor to serve back then. I served 1 term. There was a lot of trouble in town. I served 1 term. Things calmed down, and I did not re-up. And as far as I know, the school board has been peaceful for the last 35, 40 years. It's a commendable to our community. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. And I'm, as Rick mentioned, I'm on the Historic Preservation Committee. How do I qualify to be on the Historic Preservation Committee when here I am a recycling guy? Well, I know zilch about preservation, but I've become historic. And none of you know, I served on the trustees of the Union Cemetery. Done that for, I don't know, 30, 25 years, something like that. I just want to put a plug in for the cemetery. We're waiting for you folks. There are plots left. You have to hurry. There's left. So, just for that, keep that in mind. Earlier this year, the town recognized Carl Passelt. What a contribution he made. It was already mentioned, I already mentioned that he was on the board when we put up the gym in the library. And he was instrumental in getting the grant. Taxpayers of the whole country paid for that gym. And justly, Carl should have been recognized. Alona was also recognized justly. And the park is a monument to Alona and the work she did. And the gym and the library is really a monument to Carl's work. Now it would come to me. Well, the township, the recycling committee wanted to create a monument for Will. And they came up with a brilliant idea. Well, in my honor, in the park, was to be a pile of trash with my yeah. Then they got a better idea, and that's a bench, which will appear in the park eventually. And I hope you all can rest your weary bodies on that bench sometime. Now I come to Allison. Where does she, oh, there she is. Yeah, I knew there was going to be trouble with Allison. I came prepared. She put a blurb in the VIP. She got on page 2, whereas I'm on page 13. I'm on page 2, Mike, well done. I didn't get a chance to edit what Allison wrote. So believe what I wrote, take what she wrote with a grain of salt.
Absolutely not.
And she calls me in that article a recycling king. Now we all know that's a little bit over the top. Nobody in East Amwell ever aspires to be king, except maybe one exception. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for everything, and God bless you. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Will, there have been a lot of speeches in this room over the years. I doubt that any of them were as entertaining as yours. Thank you. I hope you're not a stranger. I came to the recycling depot because I thought the mayor should experience everything at least once to have a sense of how things work. I had such a good time that day that I've been coming back ever since, with a 2-month hiatus when Mark and I were out knocking on doors in 2019, trying to get seats up here on the dais. I thoroughly enjoy working at the recycling committee or at the recycling depot, and I would just like to reiterate what Will said, which is we really do need volunteers. It's 3 hours on a Saturday once a month, maybe 3.5 hours. You get to see anywhere from 70 to 120 residents. It can be very entertaining. The residents greatly appreciate the effort. They let you know that. It's rewarding because you're doing a very good thing. And we have fun. We joke around with each other. The banter that you've seen here this evening is what goes on at the recycling committee. The 3 hours go by in no time. It's just a lot of fun. So I would really encourage people to volunteer. You don't have to come every month. You can come 1 month out of the year, 2 months out of the year, but it is a great experience, and it is a very, very good cause. And I want to do whatever I can to continue and grow Will's legacy on the recycling committee. Thank you. Thank you so much, Will. I guess with that,
We have to close?
well, we never really officially opened, but
No? Okay, never mind.
I'm not big on the formalities. Next, I'd like to invite, I guess 2 of our Girl Scouts are going to do a presentation this evening. Would you like to, you could speak at your seat, you could come up front, whatever you're most comfortable doing. If you'd like to come up here, and you can do that. I know one is Olivia Ostrander, the other with the mask. Ah, okay. Yes. Couldn't recognize you with your mask.
We have little decals and brochures to hand out.
Sure.
If you want to pass them down.
Thank you.
Olivia, if you're more comfortable, you can pull down your mask if it's easier for you to talk. I actually have one of these.
First up.
Hi, so I'm Olivia Ostrander.
I'm Maya Ricci.
And we're from Troop 08380. And we're going to be talking about our Silver Award project that our troop has been working really hard on. First, you should probably know what the Silver Award is, which is when Girl Scout troop basically decides what they want their project to be for the Silver Award project. And we work for 50 hours in the community and on our project. And then we get a patch, and it's called the Silver Award. And for our Silver Award project, we decided to do something to help animals in our community. And we asked Mr. Matthews if there was anything that we could do to help the fire department. And we came up with doing the decals and adding our emergency kits that we were going to make. And yeah, that's the 2 parts of our project.
So these are actually the decals. So you would stick them on your door, and then you can just write how many pets you have, and then what kind of pet you have, and in case you have like a certain type of pet that would need like, say it was like a tiger and it was something. But like, then they would want to know, so they would know what kind of animal they were dealing with.
Yeah. And there are actually some up front that you can get if you have animals in your house, and then you just put what animals you have and how many are in the house, so that will help the firefighters know how many are in the house, like Maya said. And the second part of our project is we decided to make emergency kits. So there's a first aid kit, toys. There's also blankets, collars, leashes, and things like that. So it will comfort animals in emergency situations and help the firefighters better care for the animals.
And then the last part is leaving our legacy behind. So we wanted to leave it behind so that other troops could do it after us. So on the township's website, there's instructions on how we made the kits and like the other stuff that should go into the project. And we just wanted to leave legacy behind so other people could pass on what we started.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Sue, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Is your silver award that you're getting, is that the highest you can get in Girl Scouting?
The gold award is the highest that you can get.
Take it.
The silver award is the second highest that you can get.
And you, both of you girls have achieved that?
Almost.
Yeah.
I hope you come back and when you get get your silver award, because I think that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Very good.
Anybody else have questions? Andrea?
I was a Girl Scout, Troop 224 in Oakland, California in the 1950s. And we had a different system a little bit. But my question is, you mentioned about animals, and you obviously care a lot about animals, and I'm wondering how that came to be. Do you have animals of your own, or
Yeah.
what made you focus on that particular topic?
Well, we both have animals, and we just kind of wanted to make a difference and help the animals that are in need.
And all of us and our Girl Scout troop, we've always loved animals, and we kind of did something for a bronze award that was similar, and we helped rescue animals in rescues and made them blankets, but we wanted to do something a little more in our community to help animals in emergency situations.
Great. All right, congratulations.
Anyone else have questions?
Where are we going to be able to get the decals, girls?
There are decals here, and then we were thinking of putting them in local vets and the school maybe.
Did you talk to the fire department about the,
Oh, and we put them at the fire department.
And then there's the rabies clinic is coming up in January. Lots of people. will
Good
be
idea.
coming in
That's a
there.
good idea.
I forget the date, but 16th.
16th.
16th. That'll be a good time.
Oh, and the monthly recycling budget.
There you go.
Any other questions?
Can I just make a comment?
Absolutely.
So I had the honor of working with the girls to at least inspire them, if anything else, and they ran with this, and this is terrific. I'm so proud of you, what you ended up doing. It was a lot of good discussion and thought went into this, so I'm very proud of you and your effort. You did a great job.
Yeah, I would just add, this is a really good idea, girls. Good job. Yeah.
One thing you learn when you go out and knock on a lot of doors, and your dad will attest to this, most of the residents have pets, dogs, cats, and in fact, most of the residents have more than one pet. And when you care about your animals, you do worry what happens if you're out and there's a fire in the house. So I think this is a great idea, and something that will have real utility and real impact here in East Amwell. So I agree with my colleagues. Great job. Very great job. Thank you. Okay. The fun part of the meeting's over. Now I talk.
Waiting at the Alpha place. Big giveaway right
I'll bring him to the detail of the rabies clinic. Okay. You're welcome. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
See ya.
Christmas.
Take care, Cap. Bye.
Good job, girls.
Okay. Let's pick up with item 6 on the agenda, the announcements. There's going to be a second Township Committee meeting in December. That is a tradition here in East Amwell. It will be on Wednesday, December 23rd at 7:30 p.m. here in the Municipal Building. The official results of the election are in. The results that were published in the VIP are incorrect. Not sure what happened, but the official results are John Mills, 1,528 votes, Tara Ramsey, 1,511 votes, Tom Jarrett, 1,134 votes, Philippe Marchal, 1,077 votes. Those are the official results for East Amwell Township. If you want to see The official results for the county, you could just go to the county clerk's website, and all the official results are there. The Ringo's Village Advisory Committee is hosting the Ringo's Village Holiday Lighting Contest. Voting will take place between December 11th and the 14th. Please refer to the township website for details. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Jim, anything we should add on top of that?
I don't think so.
No, that
Okay.
pretty much covers it.
I've driven through the village at night a few times over the last week or two, and there are houses that are very nicely done.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an easy decision this year, picking a winner. The Amwell Valley Fire Company is presenting its 2020 Santa Tour on December 18th and 19th from 4 to 10 p.m. They're going to try to visit as many neighborhoods as possible. For the updates and the location of Santa, please follow them on their Facebook page. The Amwell Valley Fire Company is also going to be holding its drive-through Santa breakfast on December 20th from 7 to 11 a.m. at the firehouse. Tickets will be available at that location, $6 each, 2 for $10. The fire company normally does a breakfast in its hall above the firehouse. This year that's not possible, so they're doing the best they can with the drive-through. Please come out and support them. It's a worthy organization. They do a great deal in this community. They make a lot of sacrifices. When they're out there doing the Santa tour, they're doing this on their own time. They're not getting paid for it. It is truly volunteer work. I've gotten to know most of them. I imagine probably all of them by now. These are good people, and they deserve our support. So please try to attend the breakfast. It helps a lot. The Amwell Valley Ambulance Corp will be holding a clothing drive until January 21st, 2021. Please refer to our website for details. That is another terrific organization in the town. Again, volunteers. They literally save lives. So please do what you can to support them. Our municipal offices are going to be closed on the 24th and 25th of December, the 31st of December, and the 1st of January for the holidays. I'm just going into this because I need to get something for one of the things coming up, and it's on my little BlackBerry here. The Township Committee is going to hold its annual reorganization meeting on Monday, January 4th, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. That's the meeting where we swear in our 2 new members, John and Tara. We choose our mayor and our deputy mayor. We announce committee appointments, reappointments, and we handle a host of other procedural matters. In the past, we've handled the procedural matters one by one, which has made the meeting somewhat painful, even for us up here. By law, purely procedural matters could be lumped together and voted through a single vote, and that's what we're going to do this year. So the reorganization meeting should be much more streamlined. Now that Pete and Tim are leaving, we're going to make it shorter, more fun. They suffered through going through every single one of these procedural matters. And I want to thank Krista for that. Krista said, we're never doing this again after her last reorg meeting.
That was my first.
She said, one way or another, I'm going to figure out a way where I don't have to sit through these 47. Can I have a motion? Can it be seconded? So you will not have to sit through that. It will be a much more streamlined reorganization meeting. We usually try to get special guests to come in to do the swearing in, and we will try to do that again this year. A few years ago, we actually had the lieutenant governor here. We've had freeholders, Sheriff Brown. We try to get other elected officials to come in and do the swearing in. And it's a nice evening. I suspect we won't have a large crowd because of the current situation. We usually do have a pretty good crowd. But like I said, it's a nice evening and it will be televised. The Township Committee is encouraging residents to volunteer for our boards and our committees. Going back 20, 30 years, as I look at minutes and I look at old issues of the VIP, this has been an ongoing issue in the township. I saw a study recently. New Jersey has the second lowest volunteer rate in the United States, which is somewhat disappointing. Not sure why, but we really need volunteers on our committees. One of the things you'll learn when you're sitting up here at the dais is this town really does rely very heavily on volunteers. We could never pay for everything that we get from our volunteers. Our budget could never tolerate it. Volunteers do a lot in this community, and it is very rewarding. Most of our committees are short one, and in some cases, several members. So if you have any interest in getting involved, feel free to reach out. If you want to know more about the committees, there's information on our website. You can contact the chairs of the committees. You can call me. My cell phone is on the website. My email is on the website. You could reach out, and I'd be happy to chat with you. But we really do need more volunteers. The Township Rabies Clinic will be held on Saturday, January 16th from 1 to 4 in our municipal garage, which is on the other side of this building. Please check the website or call in to confirm that it isn't canceled. Nothing is written in stone these days. We don't know where this pandemic is going to go over the next few weeks, so before you come to any event, you probably should check and make sure that it's not canceled or postponed. The coronavirus has had an adverse impact on the budget in East Amwell. Exactly how adverse, we are trying to get our arms around it. Mark and I have been working with Krista, our CFO, and our DPW supervisor, Jason Silverthorne, to figure out exactly how big of a hole, but it's going to be a reasonably significant hole. We applied for 2 grants that total a little over $16,000, and it looks like we're going to get both of those grants. One is a county grant and the other is a state grant. That will help plug the hole somewhat, but there's still going to be a significant hole in the budget. I proposed that we do something a little different this year than has been done in the past. In the past, the Township Committee works on a budget. We do have some public discussions, but the public doesn't see the budget until we're ready to introduce it. I want to do it differently this year. This year, we're going to post drafts of the budget on the website. As we produce drafts, and we expect to produce the first one the week after next, we're going to post them on the website so that residents can review the drafts as we're reviewing the drafts. And to the extent that residents have comments, they'll have a long runway to look at the budget and make their comments. One of our objectives is to run as open a government as possible and to get as much input from the residents as possible. And it just didn't make a lot of sense to me to wait until the budget is essentially done and introduced before the residents ever see it. So Keep an eye on the website. We will post them as a news flash initially, so they will be very easy to find. And to the extent that anybody has comments on the budget, you should feel free to reach out. If you have questions on the budget, you should feel free to reach out. We'd like the residents to understand the budget and to feel like they can participate as we craft the budget. So keep your eye out for that. And then as we post drafts, we will talk about them at the Township Committee meeting, and people can come to the meeting and comment on them as well. I was playing with my BlackBerry because I'd like to get a little bit, I want to just talk about a little bit of statistical information here. We have had a run on property in East Amwell going into preservation, which is good news. Recently, the Higgins property, which is 268 acres, went into preservation, and that got a great deal of publicity. That is on Wurtsville at the border of the township. It is a parcel that took a long time to get into preservation. It's a beautiful piece. That went into preservation. The Wurtsville Industries property, which is on Wurtsville, the corner of Wurtsville and North Hill, closed this week. That's 110 acres that went into preservation. Again, another beautiful piece of property. Lastly, there is a parcel on Rainbow Hill Road, which we call the Thomas parcel, or some people call it the Kanak parcel. It's 36.4 acres. It is kind of the missing link that will tie together two large areas of already preserved land. That is on the cusp of going into preservation. That should get done in the near future. So there are 3 properties that either have or very soon will go into preservation, 3 very good properties. The Higgins property and Wurtsville Industries, those were spearheaded by the NJCF, the New Jersey Conservation Foundation. That is a very fine organization that has done a lot over the years to put properties into preservation in East Amwell and many other areas. They work very, very hard to get these properties into preservation. It's not an easy process. They go out and they raise the money, they negotiate with the landowners, they deal with a host of issues because oftentimes these properties are old farms and they may have underground oil tanks that leak, so there are some environmental issues. They have to work on getting those cleaned up. It's a lot of work getting these properties into preservation. And NJCF has done a fantastic job over the years. DNR Greenway, another fine organization. Hunter and Land Trust. Raritan Headwaters. I've been having conversations with Raritan Headwaters. We have water quality issues here in East Amwell. That bothers me. In part, it's because we're an agricultural community, so there's a lot of runoff into the streams. As part of our farm project, we're going to work with Raritan Headwaters to try to come up with proposals that are as painless as possible, where farmers can do things on their farms to minimize the runoff into our water bodies. My wife Kathy and I went to Raritan Headwaters headquarters in Bedminster. Absolutely beautiful facility, about 180 acres, gorgeous facility. They really do very good work in cleaning up our water here. They had a map on their wall, and I was looking at the map, and there were 2 areas that were in a very dark red. One was East Amwell Township. when I looked at the key, the very dark red was an F. I don't like Fs. I didn't like them when I was in school, and I'm still not a big fan of Fs. I'm an adjunct professor at Columbia University. I don't aspire to give students Fs. So when I saw F, I asked, why do we have an F? And it was because we're an agricultural community and there's just a lot of runoff from the farms. So there are some issues, serious issues with our water quality here in East Amwell. So we're going to be working with Raritan Headwaters to see what we could do to clean that up. I may even be joining the board of Raritan Headwaters. There are, the Sauerland Conservancy, another great organization. We owe a lot to these organizations, and as you come into this holiday season, a lot of people look to make year-end donations. I'm not out soliciting for anybody, but what I would say is if you are looking to make year-end donations, think about the organizations who do things for the township. The organizations that I just described, our fire company, our rescue squad, they have and they continue to do a lot for this community. So think about them as you go into the holiday season. Do any of you have any comments to add to what I've just said? Because I know you've all had interactions with some of these organizations. Anybody want to add anything?
No, that's fine.
Okay. One last thing. I do want to acknowledge the people who worked the recycling depot this past Saturday. This past Saturday, the weather was terrible. It was raining, it was cold. I think a lot of people assumed that the recycling depot would be canceled. It wasn't canceled, it actually took place. And we had a decent number of residents that showed up. But I want to thank Mark, Allison, Mark Gunn, Will, Sue Cadlick. Who am I missing?
The Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts.
The Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts were there sorting recyclables. That always makes me feel good when I see young people doing community service. If you get that ingrained in them while they're young, it tends to carry through. I didn't really get involved into community service until I was much older. It's nice to see young people doing it. Okay. Item 8 on the agenda, update from the CFO. The first is a relatively procedural matter, a resolution to approve appropriation transfers. When you get to November during the year, municipalities have the ability to move items among buckets in their budget. So if you have a bucket that's low and you have a bucket that still has money in it, you could move money from the bucket that has the money in it to the bucket that needs the money. That's what we're looking to do here. We're looking to move $2,000 from one bucket to two other buckets. Could I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved. Second?
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Next, our employees have become very good at trying to save us money. Over the last 3 years, we've really been hammering that into people. Every dollar matters in a town like this. The next resolution that I'd like to introduce will save the town money. It'll save us about $8,000 in 2021, which we could really use. As it turns out, we have a shared services agreement with Holland Township for the CFO. What that means is we split our CFO with Holland Township. They pay part, we pay part. Holland Township needs more of our CFO's time. We actually don't need as much of our CFO's time as we used to. In part because this group has been very active with the budget. We've been doing work ourselves. And when I mean this group, I really mean everybody here at the dais, Krista included. So we agreed to move some of her hours from us to Holland. That means Holland will pick up $8,000 of her costs that we otherwise would have paid. Plus, there are some additional savings with the costs associated with those hours. So in the end, we're going to wind up probably saving $9,500 in total. So that's what this resolution is. This is an amendment to the shared services agreement. I drafted it so that we are shifting hours from East Amwell to Holland and shifting a proportionate amount of the expense to Holland. So I view this as good news. Could I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Just a comment. I think that's evidence of Margaret's terrific work. The fact that, she's added efficiency to the department and she could forego some hours. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Margaret's been an absolute pleasure to work with. She's going to be retiring in, about a year and a half? We, as I mentioned at a prior meeting, we are going, her assistant retired recently, so we're going to go out and hire a new assistant, but with an eye toward that assistant becoming our CFO. So we're going to very carefully interview over the next few months.
It's going to be a hard replacement.
It's going to be really hard to replace Margaret. And you guys lived through, 2014, 2015, when we had 7 CFOs in 2 years. It's a very critical position here in the township, very, very critical, and it's not going to be easy to find a CFO of Margaret's quality. So we're going to start that process now so we have a long runway. We'll hire an assistant. It'll be on a probationary basis. If the assistant lives up to our expectations and we believe that the assistant can fill Margaret's shoes, that's fine. If not, then we're going to have to find another assistant. But we don't want to wait until Margaret's 3 weeks away from retiring before we go out and try to get another CFO.
Hey, Rick, on that note, just one thought I'll leave for the new committee. I believe the state did pass legislation a year or so ago allowing small municipalities, I think under 6,000, to hire financial firms to do the work, as opposed to having a statutory employee. I know that.
You can,
Yeah.
and there are firms that do it. We've debated that.
Yeah, it's an option to look at.
There are advantages and disadvantages to farming out that kind of work. There's an advantage to having a dedicated CFO, and because that position is so critical, we're a little reluctant to farm it out. That's not to say that it won't happen, but we have looked into that. But I think we're going to start the process by seeing if we could find somebody within our budget to replace Margaret. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. We have nothing in item 9. Item 10, the Clean Communities. I take it Rosemarie is not doing the presentation this evening?
We might reschedule for January,
Okay.
or maybe even
December
December
23rd.
23rd.
With a runway, we can accommodate her desire to do it via Zoom. We can't just accommodate it 45 minutes before the meeting.
Right.
So basically, we were having somebody come in who was going to do a presentation about how we can get some additional grants tied to recycling and cleaning the community. We're out there beating the bushes for grants. Not doing that to me is just throwing money away. So we're constantly looking for grants. We have some other ideas in the hopper. Particularly in 2021, it's going to be a very significant focus of ours to try to get grants. The quarterly reports, those we post on our website. We asked each of our committees to prepare a quarterly report summarizing what they have done during the past quarter. That was initially for the benefit of the Township Committee so that we can monitor what our committees are doing and allocate our resources accordingly. But we decided we should publish these reports on the website so the residents can see what our committees are doing. So these reports will appear quarterly. We just started doing them. We need to refine some of the reports, and we're working with the committees to do that. The goal is to get a body of useful information each quarter that we can all sit down and review and, as I said, allocate resources accordingly. Up next, we have here this evening representatives from two of our committees who asked to be put on the agenda because they wanted to talk to us about their 2021 budgets. We told all of our committees that this was going to be a very difficult year coming up, and to the extent that they had additions or any sort of modifications they wanted to make to last year's budget, they would need to let us know by early December. And as I said, two requested to be put on the agenda to come in and talk about their budget. The first is the Ringo's Village Advisory Committee. Jim, do you want to come up and chat with us?
Sure.
Good evening.
I'm Jim Houston, if you haven't met.
Jim, you can pull a chair up.
That's okay, I'll stand. Thank you. Do you each have a copy of what was submitted?
Yeah.
We do.
It's simple. We have 4 items here. One which we started to plan for this past spring, which is to provide brackets, et cetera, on utility poles in the center of the village for putting up American flags for the holidays, for banners, for special occasions, and so forth. But to initiate that, we have to purchase the brackets, the straps, et cetera, to attach to the poles, and of course to buy the flags. That, for approximately 3 dozen flags, brackets, et cetera, is about $2,400. We've priced it. It's from Gates's Flags and Banners Company. We actually had a quote from them. So this is the budget to implement that plan for village aesthetics. That's one of our focal points for the committee. You have any, the one other item regarding that, Chris has made the application to the Jersey Central Power and Light to actually get permission to attach these brackets to the poles, to place the flags or banners in the future.
You know, in the past, JCP&L was willing to make a donation around the lighting in the school, but that never happened because the soccer teams, remember the county soccer group, never followed through on the request. So,
do you recall who that contact might have been?
yeah, that was the predecessor of our current guy. He's now the VP. He's moved up to staff. I'll dig up his name for you. Yeah, that might be an avenue to go.
Yeah. Well, this is just for the American flags.
Yeah.
For holidays, but we'd like to put up banners for special occasions as well, and they get very expensive, much more than the American flags. So.
Actually, I'll give credit where credit is due. Allison had suggested that we give the residents the opportunity to adopt a flag by paying for the flag. It's in their name.
Sure.
We might be able to raise money from residents to help cover the $2,400 as well. I may have the name of the person that Tim was referring to at JCP&L, because you had copied me on those emails, and I had set up a file, so If you don't have it, I probably do.
Yeah, I've dealt with the township contact who Chris has spoken to. That's where I got the application to get the approval. I'm not sure it's the same person, but,
Well, it was actually Stan.
Stan Prager,
Yeah,
right?
he
that's
took over
that's
for
the
the
fella.
other guy, and Stan was working the issue. And there was the one gentleman who was the president of the South County Soccer League that just never wrote the one-page letter Stan needed, saying we're a not-for-profit organization and we'd like to have.
What were they going to donate, the flags specifically, or the
No,
brackets?
No, they were gonna donate money to repair.
Oh,
Part of the lights that they use
Oh,
to
the
play
lights.
soccer at night.
yeah.
So we should try to look into ways to raise the 2,400.
Yeah, the bulk of that cost, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, is the brackets themselves, because that's
yeah, the flags are
the flags are.
$10 a piece, but the brackets and the straps, et cetera, and that's without installation. That's just the hardware.
Yeah, so I believe that number reflects all of the poles that we, well, not.
Yeah, from the center of the intersection,
Yeah.
we would put roughly 9 up each of the 4 legs of the intersection.
Yeah,
That goes up to the repair gas station up 179, and then you go up to the first house past the church on 579, you go down 31 to the end of the post office or their truck parking lot, and then down to the end of post office on 179 going south.
My guess is that if we publicize this, we could raise a fair amount of that through donations. That's my guess.
No, I don't doubt it, yeah.
yeah.
I also think in your request for permission, they'd probably prefer to install the brackets on their own poles anyway. So if you sort of got them to put the brackets up at their cost and pay for the brackets.
Yeah, they have
And
to
we
be a
do the
minimum
flags.
of 15 or 18 feet off the ground. It
Yeah,
can't be
and we
less.
do the flags. Yeah, they're not gonna let anyone up on those poles.
Yeah, I'm sure that's an insurance nightmare.
There's some
So-
brackets remaining, but I don't know the condition. There's maybe half a dozen out of the 3 dozen that we need to put up.
That would seem like a good compromise, that they do all the bracketing and we supply the flags and banners.
Yeah, and I believe the budget number reflects the total cost for all those poles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if worse comes to worse and we need to make cuts here and there, we could, if we could at very least get, a portion of that, at least get the ball rolling, and then maybe next year we get more, things are tough, so, we're tight, I should say, so,
So is the committee saying we should try to raise it versus fund it?
I think we should try to raise it versus putting it in the budget. And we'll work with you to try to raise it. We'll
Okay,
work
fair enough.
with JCP&L. Stan is out on medical leave, but will be back in January. Somebody's filling in, but I don't think we want to start with somebody who's filling in. So when Stan is back in January, we could reach out to Stan. And we could work with the RVAC on ways to get word out there to try to raise money. I know Kathy and I would certainly donate to.
We could go door to
get
door, like just like we
flags.
did hang in the tags for the holiday lighting contest.
We can, I think we could raise a good part of that $2,400 from the residents, and maybe even from some businesses.
And maybe we can get JCP&L to donate the straps and the brackets and let them put it up, and we'll buy the flags.
I have to talk to Stan about something else when he's back in January anyway, so I can raise this with him, or at least get the ball rolling and see if there's any interest on JCP&L's part. They owe us for the absolute horrible way they handled the major outage we had in August, so.
good way to build some good.
Right,
back.
and they know
Welcome
it.
back.
They know they dropped the ball. They know it. So,
We went and put a generator, so.
yeah, they know they dropped the ball on that. So, I mean, I'm not kidding. They know they blew it, and so I'm fine having a conversation with Stan and reminding him that they owe East Amwell.
Okay, so we'll seek to raise the money and contact JCP&L. We would like to do the holiday lighting contest again next year. The cost for having the hang tags printed, which we have here, I don't know if any of you have seen them, want a copy?
Okay, I see. These went to the houses that are.
We delivered these to about 170, 180 homes. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Let's pass them down.
They turned out really well, so I gotta say.
I had I went to about 30 homes and had a lot of positive feedback. And
Well,
you can tell that
There are
there's
a lot of
people out
homes
there-
lit.
Oh, yeah, and you can tell some people are going for the prizes.
We're competitive here in East Amwell.
Oh, yeah.
The voting is tomorrow, so there's still time, right?
Well, the committee's gonna vote on Monday amongst ourselves, and the mayor has to pick one.
Yeah, you have to tell me what I
Oh,
need
it's
to
not
do.
the community voting?
Yeah,
It's
there's
there are three.
Okay.
the mayor, the committee, and the community.
Okay, I got it.
And there's 3 prizes, 3 gift cards.
People's choice.
Nice. Very cool.
And then the fire company, I believe when they make their rounds on Saturday or Sunday, or Friday or Saturday, there's gonna be 3 lawn signs placed in front of the homes that are the winners.
Very nice.
They have bragging rights, you know.
Very nice. What happens if one home is chosen by all 3 of the
They get
groups
3
that
signs,
choose? That's your real bragging rights. I got all 3 signs.
The mayor has to show up with eggnog.
Spike eggnog.
I'd be happy to. A chihuahua and some eggnog.
So the printing is like $75 to $100 for those hang tags.
Very good idea.
It is a
That
good
was
idea.
Darcy May's idea. She put this whole thing together. It was
really
phenomenal.
It's a nice way to build community in the village.
And that's what the village needs, is kind of like a reason to,
Put some
Right.
life, put some more life, put the life back into it.
yeah, nice.
Chris came up with the idea of creating a village property inventory website and mailing. We budgeted
Yeah.
approximately $250 for that. And then, number 4 is to do a traffic study and warrants analysis that he's been speaking to the township engineer about.
What's
And
the
that-
warrants?
That's to determine whether, for example, I'm not suggesting it, but if a traffic signal was needed somewhere,
Oh, okay.
you have to have all the data that demonstrate that, in fact, it's needed to control the volume and speed, et cetera.
Okay.
So one of our focal points, of course, is traffic calming. And I just learned yesterday from the township, the county engineer's office, that if you come down 579 approaching the intersection, there's a yield sign. And I think a lot of people they travel that road every day, they just forget about it. And I've seen some close ones at that intersection, where people don't yield and wait for the traffic coming down 179 from 202. That yield sign should be a flashing sign, which only flashes when a vehicle approaches, to remind people. He said, and that's a county road, so that's why I called them. He said, unfortunately, DOT has jurisdiction over the entire intersection, all 4 roads.
Because of 179.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's the intersection itself. You have 2 state roads. intersect.
Anytime that you have a road that intersects with a state road, the state has jurisdiction in addition to the county. In trying to get the state to do anything, you might as well take the pen and just start sticking it in your eye.
And that's the reason for the traffic study and warrants analysis, because if you don't have the data and the information to prove what you want to do, you're not going to get anywhere. And I also learned that from the intersection south on the first part of 31, which is also 579 down to Melbourne, that jurisdiction was given up to the county, even though it's a state highway. So that, because it's just a short leg above the 202 bridge. Operationally, state still owns the right of way, but they gave up the operation, therefore control over signs, et cetera.
Who plows that part?
Actually, I live right there, so the state comes by because they must start, they might probably come in from 202 on Wordsville and turn and come down and keep going down 31.
Well,
If I could add some color to this budget item. Or Jim, did you want to?
Well, I believe
Yeah.
Chris has got a ballpark estimate from your engineer of about 25 grand to do, and that's a high-end estimate, to do an entire study.
Yeah.
Reports, analysis, and so forth. And that we'd apply for a grant to pay for that. And 10% of that the township would have to pay, which would be in our budget of $2,500.
Yes.
That's like to be determined. We didn't know what the number was when I put this together, so.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off of what Jim's talking about here. So I spoke to Bill earlier this week, the engineer, obviously. And you know, I explained the situation to him, he's obviously aware of a lot of the issues we have. And his suggestion was that we do, and I can't remember the precise term, but do a little more of a preliminary analysis first, and then with that data approach the county and the state for what's called a pre-application meeting to try to get everybody on board to, you know, what we're trying to do. So, you know, that cost is not as much as an entire study would be, but, you know, should everything go well with the pre-application meeting, we'd have to move on to a larger study, at which point, you know, the expense would obviously increase. So at least for the first, I plan on applying for a grant from the county to cover all this like I did last year with the zoning update. And they require that we pay 10% of whatever the total project cost is, so that's, you know, if you get 2,500 out of the 25,000. So Bill's supposed to get back to me with precise numerical figures on what the two studies would cost. I guess the bifurcated study really, and yeah, so that's kind of how we're planning on approaching things. Yeah, I think that about covers what I was.
So sorry, Chris, the
yeah.
2,500 was for the
2,500 covers the
No,
whole,
it's
the whole
10% of
kit.
it, 10% of 25,000.
Yeah,
Yes, but of the larger study or the smaller study?
that covers both. It's,
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, the 2,500
Is both?
yeah. So the first part would be, I don't know, like 5,000, let's just say. So we would pay what 500 out of that, and then the larger part would be 20,000. So that's what the
Gotcha.
thing, you know,
Now,
got to get money from the county for both of them, obviously, but you know that's.
Tamara Lee did drawings of what she thought would be a traffic calming and aesthetics improving plan for the village.
Oh really?
Yes. I thought I had sent that to you, but if I didn't, I will. I haven't.
Got so many things by email.
It looked interesting. I looked at it.
Yeah.
So you might want to take a look at that. That might be a good way to start this process. Tam is a professional planner.
Right.
She had done this some time ago. Could never get anyone of our predecessors to pay any attention. I pay attention to things Tam does. When you have a planner of her caliber that's willing to do work for the municipality for free,
Yeah.
you don't turn that away.
No.
So I could get that to you.
Yeah, perfect. I'll forward it to
But
Bill
we
and
can,
let
we,
him know of it.
well, the village is a high priority for the township. Revitalizing the village, dealing with the traffic issues, the speeding. So we're happy to work with you guys on this. I mean, we can't commit to a number tonight.
Of course.
We need to deal with it throughout the budget process, but we certainly hear you on that one and agree that it is something that needs to be addressed, so.
I would argue that's probably among the highest priorities for the village is the traffic
Yeah,
issue, so.
traffic's an issue in a number of areas in the township, but it's very bad in the village.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think we need a stop sign by the firehouse at that intersection where you turn, where you have to make that weird turn at the post office. I think we need a stop sign at Toad Lane and John Ringo Road, a
Yeah,
four-way.
That's a speedway.
That should be a four-way.
Yeah.
60 miles an hour, people come through.
Yeah, that's dangerous stretch of road. We need to do something with the area you talked about by Mom's. I don't know if it's a flashing light or if you make that a stop sign. You know, there are a number of traffic issues in the village that need to be addressed, but what I was told is you're not going to get anywhere addressing them piecemeal. I had a preliminary conversation and was told we're much more likely to achieve success if we go in with what you guys call the traffic calming plan for the village and go in with the whole plan.
Yeah, and the data or the study to back that up.
Now, we have the ability to gather some data on our own because we bought the equipment last year and we've been using it. Jason has been moving it from road to road to road, and we're building
radar signs, et
statistics.
cetera.
And John is actually John is gonna be our traffic calming guy once he's on the committee. I mean, it makes sense. He was a state trooper. I mean, it makes sense for him
You can get a
to,
sense of what goes
he was a
on.
state trooper for 25 years. He understands traffic. So John is gonna be overseeing the traffic issues once he's
And no
seated.
matter what it's planned and what's done, if the enforcement's not done on a regular basis,
Well, we're gonna be meeting with Delaware Township to talk about our shared services agreement with their police, to try to get some coverage
That's essential, it really is.
on other roads. I'm supposed to be getting together with the mayor of Raritan to see if I could get a shared service with them for some police coverage. Somebody recommended to me that I should talk to Hopewell and see if Hopewell would be interested in doing some sort of shared service. So maybe if I cobble together
Yeah.
a few shared services agreements. Because the problem is none of these police departments want to migrate too far from their home base. So Delaware doesn't want to go way out in East Amwell, but Raritan would pick up that piece. Delaware may not want to go out to the far corners on the other end, but Hopewell might. So if I could cobble together a few shared services agreements,
It'll
maybe
work.
I could get us largely covered. So, like I said, John is going to be handling the traffic calming, and we're also working on, our engineer's working on getting weight limits, weight restrictions on some of the roads like Lindbergh.
Yesterday afternoon, his flatbed trailer came past our house heading right into the village. He must have been going 50 miles an hour, and he didn't slow down. Right
Well-
up, he's going up to the light at 202.
We can't have tractor trailers using Lindbergh as a cut-through. That doesn't work. You can't run tractor trailers on Lindbergh. First of all, the road is too windy, too narrow. Second, they're tearing it up. These roads aren't made for that kind of weight. When these vehicles get near the edge of the road, which they have to when something's coming the other way, they're chewing up the roads.
Yep.
So we're looking to impose weight restrictions, but nothing is simple in New Jersey. Everything requires you to cut off 3 fingers and mail them to DOT. It's just
And you
ridiculous.
wait for 2 years.
Right. But we appreciate it. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, that was it, just to go over those.
I just have a comment. So when you talk to the engineer, you might want to connect with the Hunterdon County Economic Development people, because one of the challenges is if we were to be successful and bring life to the village and small businesses were to start, you're going to compound any traffic problem.
Well, that's got to be factored into the
Yeah,
plan.
it's got to be part of the plan. It can't just
Yeah.
be how many cars are speeding today. It's, what happens if we reach a certain level of success?
A lot of this is like catch-22 type
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, hopefully they'll be slowing down and stopping, getting coffee or bagel or whatever
Yeah.
opens up, and
Yeah, I mean, you could see
then you have more
gridlock.
traffic issues.
Yeah, there could be gridlock.
Pulling out, taking them
The
off.
problem is the commuters.
Yeah, oh.
The problem
4:30
is
in
the
the morning it
commuters.
starts, 4:30 in the morning they come flying by.
When I was going into the city, I would get up at 3:20 to run, and I'd run a stretch of 579 at 3:20. I'd be out there about 3:45. I'd get to 579 around 4 o'clock. There were cars flying at 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's the commuters. That's the big issue. Like I said, Tam had done a drawing that looked very interesting to me
I haven't seen it.
to
That'd
slow
be-
down
that'd be
traffic.
good to look
I'll
at.
get it to you guys. But thank you for coming in tonight, and thanks for all the work that you
Thanks for the
guys are
time.
doing on that committee.
Just as a off topic a little bit, I don't know if anyone's here aware, I saw a detour sign coming up Linvale.
Doing the movie.
Yeah, did we know about this?
Yes,
Oh,
we approved it.
oh, when did we approve it?
The end of November, I approved it.
Oh.
It couldn't wait for the township committee,
What,
so,
do you say they're filming a movie?
yes,
Yeah.
on Rocktown Road,
What
an
movie?
Armageddon film.
Are we?
I'm happy to get into more detail, but let's move on with the meeting.
Dude, where's
You guys-
the Deputy Mayor Chris Sobiewski cameo?
Okay.
Come on.
I'll ask them next
It's not a
time.
horror film.
Thanks
That's
for
right.
your
Oh,
time.
ha ha. It's an Armageddon
Thank you.
film. Are you kidding me?
All
Thanks,
right,
Jim. Appreciate it, man.
John, do you want to come up next from the Historic Preservation Committee?
Once you get on the Historic Preservation Committee, you become historic.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Did you get the letter that I submitted to Maria Pasca?
You mean for the
Oh,
budget? Yeah,
okay.
no, we saw it.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's a substantial amount of money, but I just want to go through that. Chris has been a great help, by the way, on the historic, as the liaison.
Thank you.
You can flip your mask off if that's
thank
easier for you,
God.
John.
Okay. So, but like I said, Chris has been very helpful on it, and we're trying to make this committee a viable committee. All the members seem to be like coming up to the task, and what I've done is I asked them for 2021 goals before I get to the budget. In the budget that I did put, though, was for archivists, and the reason for that is that this historic property inventory has been laying around for over 10 years and nothing has been done about it. And it's time, I feel, that needs to get done, because what I want to do with this committee is bring the school into it. I think it's something where East Amwell history should be, with the Preservation Committee, should go to the school and give presentations. And John Allen has said that he would be willing to do a couple of those. I think it's very important, because if you live in a town, you should know what your history is. We're also looking to, to work with the bridges and the post offices and getting them historical designation. As you know, you sent me Marilyn Cummings, who was a big help with the bridges. And we're finding out that about 50% of our bridges have not been properly classified as historic. And the reason why you would want to do that is in the repair work that is done by the county. They have to go by certain guidelines on the bridges for historical repairs. And what's happening in the township is that's not happening. I can't remember the bridge that Francis went with.
Bound Station.
By the Grover's house. The county, because it's on the East Amwell border, it's split between East Amwell and Delaware. On the Delaware side, they did the proper repair of the bridge based on historical. And on the other side of the fence for East Amwell, they didn't. They did it like putting a Band-Aid over a jugular vein wound. Okay? Yeah, which is a picture that, these are pictures that Marilyn had actually sent to me, if you want to, and what I mean by that is, they did the repair, and as you can see, there's a hole on the East Amwell side.
I run past that bridge, I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they treated our side differently than the West Amwell side.
Right. And Marilyn's willing to help our committee, our committee get the bridges historically preserved.
The problem with those bridges is, and I went through this on Lindbergh, and it's actually how I first met Tam. They don't view those as bridges, they view them as culverts. They
Right.
call them culverts, they don't call them bridges. And with the culverts, they feel they could just go in and basically knock them down and put in this big ugly concrete thing. And they want it 2 lanes, which then encourages people to go faster. I managed to fight them on Lindbergh and got them to repair it and leave it the way it is, but look, I don't fault them for this, I don't fault the county, but the county looks to fix these culverts as cheaply as possible. Tear them out, put in new concrete piping, put in prefab concrete, and these beautiful stone walls disappear and you have these ugly concrete bridges. And that's not what we want in the township. So that's why when that woman reached out to me to talk about designating our bridges as historical, I was enthusiastic about that, because if we could protect them so that they have to keep them looking like old bridges and not just tear them out and putting these concrete monstrosities, I'm all for that.
Well, she made 26 applications to get on the bridges for historical. She got 23 out of the 26 approved, which to me is amazing. And again, she's willing to help, and of course I delegated that to Frances to work with Marilyn, because she knows Marilyn. And that's pretty much why I'm asking for a big increase in, and I know it's a COVID area time, you know, $1,500 for an archivist, but Chris and I are going to start working to look if we can find grants. We thought we had one, till we found out it was for Native American Indians and stuff like that, so it didn't work. But the other thing is I'm asking $1,750 for miscellaneous. Again, that's in helping with the calendar, but also it's to get supplies that we can actually preserve our historical documents properly. Because right now they're stored in the basement, and what we had at the meeting is Chris and I are going to coordinate. I'm volunteering my truck. Peg Sullivan's going to volunteer her truck. Once we get the people to go down there and mark the boxes, which ones they want, we're going to get them out of here and move them to the Clausen house. so we can start getting them archived properly. Because of the Property Historical Preservation Committee, we want to put in a museum.
You're gonna have to figure out, you're gonna have to go over to Clausen House and do some work, because right now, fitting more boxes in there, because you don't want to put them in the basement of Clausen House.
No, we're looking at the attic.
Well, the attic is not conditioned.
Okay.
The attic
But-
is not conditioned at all.
Well, maybe Chris and I will go take a look over there.
Yeah.
And we'll take and see what we can do.
So really what you have is, unless you're gonna eat into display space, you have the office and the archive room, and they're pretty crowded right now. I think there's a lot of junk there. I think that house has become a repository for a lot of junk. And I think if you start cleaning out some of that junk, you'll make room. But before you start getting boxes ready to move out, you have to do
Well,
some
I'll
work with
coordinate
Clausen
it
House.
with Rich Canacci. We'll go, Chris, if I can,
Yeah.
you know, not that you have nothing else to do. Maybe I'll bring you over to take a look at what's going on. But also, like I said, in the 1750s for grant applications, if we need the money, if we have to, hire someone to help us out a little bit to do it. We're looking to get a lot of grants next year. Hopefully, there are a lot of grants next year. Based on, again, with COVID, we don't know that yet.
Yeah, John and I have done some basic research on that so far. There's a few we've identified that might be worth looking into. We might have to kind of partner with the museum, well, not really the museum, but the Historical Society to kind of act as a conduit, because a lot of these are for like museum-related purposes, right? But I mean, we have Clausen House, so why not use it for, to try to solicit some money, so.
That's, yeah, you and I will talk.
Yeah.
$500 for dues and memberships, and of course, $700 for the part-time secretary, so that's what I'm presenting. Also, Rick, I just wanted to ask you about this current year's budget. Are you going to use that money for that title company? Because I cannot find anybody to volunteer.
Then we'll have to use it for the title company. We should just start making some phone calls and get estimates. Cortez and Hay and a few others.
Well, as of November 2nd, we had $1,400 left. We're probably down to $1,200.
And the $1,200 was put aside for the title search.
Okay.
That may even be light. I don't know. We did have a volunteer do a lot of title work on his own. He had some experience, which we would hand off to the title company, and hopefully they would just cut us a break on the expense. And then the legal work, I'm hoping that between myself and our township attorney, we can get that done for free.
All right, so I'll just let the Historical Society know that the $600 isn't coming for the calendar this year, so, okay.
Yeah, the calendar's not doing as well as,
No.
because I happen to be married to the person who's doing the calendar, so.
So am I.
I know.
So no, honestly, it's not doing well.
No.
The people just don't have the money to go.
No, the local businesses don't have the money to take pages like they did.
But again, I'm asking, for 4460. I'm hoping that, whatever we can get close to with it, I would appreciate you taking a look at it. I really, like I said, Chris will bring you up to date. We're really being aggressive, and we want to move this forward. We don't want to just talk about it anymore. We want to do what we're supposed to be doing. And that's what the goal is for next year.
I can vouch for that.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in, John.
No problem.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Have a happy holiday. Say hi to Colleen.
I will.
Thank you, sure.
Oh, just since I'm up here and I'm not going to say it for open, I just want to say to Pete and Tim, thank you for all your service. Thank you for what you've done to the community. And Tim, especially you. If you didn't open the door, none of all five of you would be sitting up here. It's because of you being a pain in the neck way back when. Open the door for everybody up here. And thank you for that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
See you, John.
Okay. Next, we have two resignations. We have Mike Azert, who is resigning from Parks and Recreation. Could I have a motion to accept his resignation with regrets?
So moved.
Second. Second. I guess I'll second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The Ringo's Village Advisory Committee, David Carl is resigning. Could I have a motion to approve with his resignation with regrets?
So moved.
I'll second.
Questions, comments?
relatively new to the.
Yeah, that's a health issue,
Okay.
so, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Yeah, the resignations tend to be either health or personal issues, not because people are unhappy on the committees. A lot of our volunteers are getting up there in years, and you have health issues. Okay, approval of the minutes. The November 12th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. I had given Krista a few comments. They were non-substantive comments. I think Krista's doing a great job with the minutes, and I appreciate it. Plus, she's getting the minutes out minutes after the meeting, not 3-4 weeks after the meeting. So it's nice because everything is fresh in her mind and fresh in my mind. So I appreciate it, Krista. That's always been a problem. You would get a draft of the minutes 3 days before the next meeting. Now Krista's getting them out within a day or two, which is great.
Not always.
Not always, but it's appreciated.
Depends on how many minutes I have to do.
So could I have a motion to approve the November 12th, 2020 regular minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Executive session minutes, November 12th, 2020. Could I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Now, we're going to open to the public. Could I have a motion to open to the public?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are open to the public. Anybody would like to speak?
Francis?
Francis?
Francis Gaffigan, L&D, for the Bone Station Road and a few thousand other things.
Just state your address, Francis.
123 Wurtsville Road, Ringgoes, New Jersey. I met with Marilyn Cummings and took a number of photographs and called down in the weeds and all of that stuff and did a detailed investigation of our side of the bridge versus their side. And there's probably a risk of a critical failure on our side of the bridge because the stone wall is bowing out. There are erosion and other issues that have cut into the culvert with the stream coming through to where the water is. Instead of going through, it's diverted to basically be undermining it. The repairs that were done with cement as opposed to the appropriate material that doesn't, due to its nature. If you use cement as opposed to the mortar, with the freeze and thaw cycles you get in the winter, it damages the bridge. So there's been sort of cement Play-Doh stuck in and out of there a number of places and different things like that. I've probably got 40 photos I can pull into a report and things like that. Something to share because, Tim, you'll remember this. I had a fair amount of dealings with the freeholders, with roads and bridges, and getting a commitment from John Glenn and the freeholders that when they were doing repairs, especially in East Amwell, of stone structures, that they would use the appropriate materials and things like that. And as, I mean, we had all the freeholders down on Wurtsville Road at the ridge and about 150 other people looking at it, and that's when they decided to change the design of that bridge to be more in keeping. Pictures and stuff are still on the internet. But there was a commitment to handle our stonework a certain way, and that is probably eroded over time. The last person there who would remember that and that commitment would be Matt Holt, and things like that. You know, back with the Linville Road, when I had gotten a thing about it, with the culvert up there in Linville by the Lindbergh Estate, I quietly reached out to Matt and to the county to remind them of their obligation. And then when you talked to him, Mayor Wolf and others did, the pump was somewhat primed, because we had had that agreement between, it was a county, a public-private rescue services agreement and working group that they had committed to and that had dedicated, I mean, they changed the design on an approved bridge. And John, you would know, that's like getting to heaven with a straight shot from hell. And they spent money, which was even more. So there is a history and a willingness to invest properly in the materials and in the infrastructure of East Amwell, whether it's a culvert or a bridge. The bridge at the bottom of Linville by you, Tim, you know, it seems to be almost as popular as the train trestle for people to have impacts and throwing things into the creek. I don't know if the road crew's been fixing that, or if the township, you know, the county comes and does those kinds of wall repairs. But, you know, I think it would be nice if they've got a procedural manual, or they have something at the county level that is a standard operating procedure of how they conduct business, that such a thing be codified, and so that it's known to anybody and everybody, no matter who's still on there, or may come along, as to what has been agreed to. You know, Matt Holt has been a real asset.
Francis, was this a handshake deal, or?
Oh, no, it was public
It's in writing?
meetings. I don't know that it got into writing. It was John Glenn and Matt Holt, and that they would, in the future, they would be doing business a different way. You know, he retired. The new guy that's there is more of a traditional, bigger, wider, faster kind of engineer, road engineer, but I think there is certainly enough, shall we say, evidence or historical reference. Google Worsville Road in my name and it'll pop up. And all that other stuff. I mean, I could touch base with Matt or with the county and try to gently remind them, or whatever, I don't know, but there are, and Orchard Road was closed because there was a culvert that they were repairing. That's one of the detours that you were encountering on Linville Road. I don't know anything about the movie, but you know, there's certain things to be aware of. I feel like after what's now 26 years, I feel like the history of East Amwell, not quite Will Harrison, but certainly of a number of other things that, if you only knew, might be useful. So.
Thank you, Francis.
Mm-hmm. I'll be around.
Anybody else? Motion to close to the public?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We don't have any consent agenda items. We have one public hearing this evening. It is on ordinance 20-19. I discussed it at last month's Township Committee meeting. It is appropriating $30,000 to put a new roof on this building. When I say put a new roof, I don't mean we're going to tear the old roof off. This is a metal roof that was coated with fiberglass. The fiberglass coating which comes with a 10-year warranty, has been up for over 15 years and is starting to go. So we're going to have that company come back and do another fiberglass coating. We will get a full 10-year warranty on that. The cost is not $30,000, it is less than $30,000, but we appropriated 30 in case when they get up there they find some additional things that need repair. We will have the money appropriated to do it. So could I have a motion to...
Oh, wait. This
Oh,
legal
your
notice was published in the Hunterdon County Democrat on November 19th, 2020, and it was posted and available to the public since introduction on November 12th, 2020.
Could I have a motion to open to the public to discuss this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public who would like to discuss this ordinance? Francis?
Still Francis Gavin, still Wordsville Road. Are you adding another layer of coating or something, or are you replacing materials? Because
We're adding another layer of coating.
have you checked the engineering and the capacity of the roof? Because my recollection, and it's somewhat dated, is that the roof structural integrity capacity was at level, at its maximum level.
Francis, this fiberglass weighs next to nothing. It's not going
Okay.
to impact the capacity of the roof.
Okay. Just thought I'd bring it up.
Any other comments? Motion to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 20-19?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Jason went through this, by the way, very carefully. We looked at a number of alternatives to deal with the roof. This was the most cost-effective way. We got over 15 years out of the last coating. We're getting a full 10-year warranty on this coating. If you break it down on an annual basis, you're talking about roughly $2,600 a year. To actually replace the roof would be many multiples of the $26,000.
It's the same company, right?
It is the same company that did the coating the last time. So we decided to go this route. There are a number of changes we'd make to this building if we had an unlimited budget. It's actually a god-ugly building for East Amwell Township. The stucco, which is incredibly cheap stucco, is starting to fail. If you look at this building in the daylight, you will start to see areas where there are holes in the stucco and other areas where the stucco is nearly worn off. Ultimately, we'll have to tear this stucco off. If we do, and I'm still around, what we're looking at doing is not replacing it with stucco, but replacing it with hardy planks, so it looks more like an East Amwell structure as opposed to a Scottsdale, Arizona structure. So we may have to do something in the next few years with the facade of the building, but that's not going to happen this year given the budgetary issues. That's a future issue. Plus, to the extent we have money for capital, we have to get some new equipment for our DPW because they're working with 30-year-old equipment that's failing. So that's my comment on this. Krista, could you do a roll call?
Mr. Castellano?
Yes.
Mr. Matthews?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Sobieski?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
The adoption notice will be published in the December 17th, 2020 issue of the Hunterdon County Democrat.
Item 15, we have no special committee reports tonight. Item 16, unfinished business. As I mentioned earlier, we applied for 2 what I call COVID grants. We have been approved for the county grant, and we've been tentatively approved for the state grant. The state, we simply need to get them some paperwork. Assuming they're happy with the paperwork, we should be getting both those grants. And combined, they're about $16,500. So we're out there trying to scour every grant that we can. I am working on trying to set up a meeting with Congressman Malinowski and a number of elected officials in the area, including our freeholder director, Sean Van Doren, to discuss with him the budgetary issues that we're facing here in Hunterdon County. I reached out to him and asked if he would be amenable to meeting with us. He not only said yes, but he was actually enthusiastic about having the meeting. He'd like to learn more about our needs. So I'm hopefully going to set something up in the next few weeks. And a number of us, mayors, et cetera, will sit down with him and share our views. And we'll see whether it has any impact. He doesn't control what goes on in Washington, but he certainly has a say. And I figured spending an hour or two with him is probably an hour or two well spent. So we'll see. The last round of federal funding, counties with populations of 500,000 or less were excluded. So Hunterdon County got nothing from the prior CARES Acts. We are hoping that the next CARE package, to the extent that it does give aid to states, will allow aid to go to counties with populations less than 500,000, so that Hunterdon County would qualify, and that means East Amwell would get some aid. We'll see what happens. Okay, and other good news. The grant that we applied for last year for Linvale Road to finish the work on Linvale Road, that grant was approved. So we will be able to continue doing the work on Linvale Road. We got a grant last year to cover half the work we wanted to get done. We got a grant a couple weeks ago to cover the other half. So it looks like we'll be able to take that project out for bids, and that's good news.
It's great news.
Says the man who lives on Linvale Road. Yes, I hear you. Okay, next is a resolution authorizing the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse fiscal grant. This is procedural. We have to adopt this resolution each year so that the local schools can get grant money for drug and alcohol awareness programs. So could I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Next, Governor Murphy, in Executive Order 195, granted counties and municipalities the right to restrict businesses after 8 p.m. You could cause them to close at 8 p.m. You could impose additional restrictions on them after 8 p.m. The county freeholders adopted a hands-off resolution a few weeks ago saying that they were not planning on exercising their authority, that they feel that businesses are best able to regulate themselves, the local businesses. The local businesses understand social distancing. They exercise the appropriate precautions, and we were not going to stick our nose into that. The freeholders emailed the mayors in Hunterdon County and suggested that each municipality consider adopting a parallel resolution. I took the county's resolution and marked it up a bit, and that's what you have in front of you. But basically the key whereas clauses are: whereas the Township Committee of East Amwell Township believes that our local businesses know far better than government how to protect the health of their customers and employees while still operating their businesses in a manner that is economically feasible. And whereas additional restrictions placed on our local businesses, particularly restaurants and other small retailers, could result in their permanent closure, thereby leading to greater economic harm, additional layoffs, and the devastation of our local business economy for years to come. So therefore, the Township Committee is resolving that it has no intention to take any action to interfere with, reduce the hours of, or close down private businesses under the circumstances authorized by Executive Order 195. Those are the key parts of the resolution. Could I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I move to approve the resolution.
Could I have a second?
I second wholeheartedly.
Questions or comments?
I just have to say that I don't see how the time of day has anything to do with the virus. And all of these rules and restrictions that have to do with timing, I just can't get my head wrapped around that. So I also question, I publicly question the authority of the governor to do this. And people may think he has the authority, but in my opinion, he doesn't. There's no legislation that supports this. So for that matter, I fully support this resolution, and I think businesses should continue doing what they do.
I agree. I would just add, and let me preface this by saying I have some very strong opinions on the entire COVID situation, but I won't get into that tonight. But one thing that I saw, this was an article that was in The Hill from a couple weeks ago. It said that almost 1/3 of New Jersey small businesses have closed. Third. I don't know how you recover from that. I don't know if you can recover from that. But the way things are going right now, it's just, it's unsustainable. At a certain point in time, we have to recognize that, either what we're doing isn't working, or we're going to be doing more harm to ourselves in the long run by continuing to go down this path. So, I'm not in, a position. Obviously, we're just East Amwell, and I don't like to get into issues beyond our reach. But like I said, something's got to give here, and because like I said, it's unsustainable. We're going to get to a point where there's going to be nothing left to protect or save. So, I don't know. Just figured I'd like to, just wanted to highlight that for people.
Well, the governor's office was having weekly and then bi-weekly calls with the mayors to discuss the COVID situation. And several months ago, I spoke on that call. I rapidly made my way onto the governor's shit list, I think, by comments I made on these calls. But a couple months ago, I said on the call that my wife Kathy and I went to Walmart, and not only was the food section of Walmart open, but the household goods section was open. And Walmart was very crowded, and it was not easy to maintain social distancing. And I asked the governor's assistant who was running the call, why is it okay for me to go to Walmart and buy household goods, but I can't go to the small local store in Flemington and buy them when the small local store in Flemington never has more than 1 or 2 people in at a time? Why does that store have to close, but Walmart could sell household goods? There was a very long pause, which made it clear to me that he wasn't sure how to answer that question. And then he came back and said, well, we don't have the capability to monitor all these businesses. That was the answer.
Yeah.
When did it become the job of government to monitor businesses?
When Murphy's office decided back in the spring that they were going to give a 3-week respite on property tax without thinking about the impact that would have on municipalities, because they didn't give the municipalities a respite on when they had to pay their bills. And certain bills have to be paid by the municipality during that 3-week period. We don't get the arbitrage of holding the tax dollars. We have to get them and pay them out promptly. So I sat down and computed what savings there were to the average taxpayer in New Jersey with that 3-week respite. What did it really save the average taxpayer? And the answer was anywhere from $16 to $20, depending on what you used as your assumption. And I was being generous because the average taxpayer in New Jersey pays about $9,000 a year in property taxes. I used $10,000. And so on a $2,500 quarterly payment, getting that 3-week respite from the additional interest would save $16 to $20. So again, I got on the phone with the governor's office on one of these calls, and I asked them, did you do the computations to determine what it would save the average taxpayer? Well, they hadn't. So I told them $16 to $20. And I got calls from 3 or 4 other mayors after that call saying to me, I wish, I I wish I had the courage to speak up on these calls, but I'm worried that the governors they're going to retaliate against my municipality. That's the level of thought they give to these policies. I've lost all confidence in our governor. I ask basic questions on these calls, and other mayors ask basic questions. Questions that should be easy to answer, they can't answer, or when they do give you answers, they're off-the-wall answers. So these restrictions are not being well thought through. And some of them are being driven by politics. The 3-week respite on property tax was just a political move. There was no substance to it.
Virtue signaling, as I like to call it.
So I have no confidence that we have strong leadership taking us through here in New Jersey this pandemic. So I was perfectly happy and very willing to sit down and draft this resolution. I wish we could do more, but our hands are tied. Municipalities, under these executive orders, are not allowed to deviate from them except where the executive order specifically says that we can. But that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. So all in favor of this resolution?
I just want to follow up on one thing you said, which I think is even more important. This notion that mayors and elected officials are afraid to speak up for fear of retaliation is the crux of the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't live in a society where people are afraid to question the people we elect for these roles. It's happening all over the country, and it's ridiculous. I mean, the government is there to support us. We're not, it doesn't exist on its own. Government is of the people. And the fact that we can have elected officials that are fearful of retaliation by a higher level of government is outrageous.
It exists.
Yeah.
These mayors are concerned about speaking up on these calls because they're worried that it'll adversely impact their state aid.
Well, the staffers were irritated when you asked the question.
And you remember on one
Someone
call,
questioned.
they go through municipality by municipality, they got to East Amwell, they skipped over it.
Shocker.
And I chimed in at the end and said, did you intend to leave out?
Rick, I encourage you to continue to speak up on behalf of East Amwell. I mean, I'm stepping off this township committee, but we have to, at the individual level, at the government level, at the business level, we all have to speak up.
Yeah.
We can't be afraid of what some boogeyman is gonna do to us. Because these boogeymens are ours. We just, they exist because we put them there.
Well, to take you up on that opportunity to speak up, Tim, let me just say this, and, also piggybacking off what you said, Rick, about them really, well, at least the administration really have no idea what it's doing. Let's dial the clock back a few months ago to when the governor issued that executive order that effectively forced nursing homes to take COVID-positive patients. I mean, you think about it, from day one, we knew that this virus affected the elderly and those with pre-existing health conditions far more severely than anybody else, right? So, riddle me this, why would you force facilities that, house almost exclusively those types of populations to take COVID-positive patients into them? It doesn't make any sense, and, you wonder why we're, I think, the highest, not the highest total deaths, but I think we were the highest per capita deaths, something to that effect. I know we're very high on the list. And there was another report I believe I saw in June that said about 40% of the deaths so far had been in nursing homes. So you want to know why the count is so high and why the deaths are so high. I don't know what else to say other than it's because of the incompetence of the governor.
Well,
So,
it's worse than that, Chris. It's that these nursing homes aren't equipped to take care of patients like that.
well, that's the thing. You think about it like this, Tim. You have people who are already there who aren't necessarily infected with COVID, but they're at the highest risk of dying from it.
Right.
So why would you send sick people into those populations? If someone has a good explanation for it, I'd love to hear it, but I've yet to hear it. And not only that, from what I understand, believe Attorney General Barr has been requesting documents from maybe at least New York, I don't know about New Jersey, into this very problem, because Cuomo did a similar thing, as did Whitmer in Michigan, and Newsom out in California, and Governor Wolf over in Pennsylvania. So,
No relation.
yeah, no, thank God, right?
All right, well, Krista's giving me the eyes, so that means she wants us to vote on this resolution. Could I,
I'm voting twice.
okay,
Yes and yes.
all right.
Yeah.
And definitely.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anybody opposed? Okay. Third is a resolution approving a refund of an overpayment of 2020 taxes to a resident here in the township. Could I have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The last one is a resolution in support of the Farmland Preservation Grant Funds for fiscal year 2022. This is a procedural resolution. It is actually a new thing. The SADC wants municipalities to adopt this resolution in order to qualify for our preservation grants. This to me is a no-brainer. We rely on these preservation grants. It's an innocuous resolution. So could I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 18, we are open to the public. Could I have a motion to approve? I mean, a motion to open to the public?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody from the public? Seeing no one, motion to close to the public?
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bills of the evening. Could I have Tim, you review them?
I don't think I saw them.
They're in there.
They're in there? Well, I'll approve them.
I looked, I mean, I skimmed through them, but I know you go through them with
I
care.
usually look through them.
There
but I-
wasn't anything major.
Yeah.
There's nothing,
No.
You
no
signed the check.
yeah, there's no outliers.
All right, could I have a motion to approve the bills of the evening?
I'll move their approval.
I'll second.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have reports. I did look at the municipal court report. It does seem like the tickets that are being written by Delaware are kind of lean here in East Amwell, so we're going to have a meeting with the Delaware Township Police Chief and the Delaware Township Committee person who's the liaison and try to get some more coverage. I'm not sure why the tickets are so lean, so we got to get our arms around that.
How are the state police tickets looking?
We have no report again.
Oh, really?
John's working on this. John is aware of it, and John is going to work on.
The lady that does the reports is inundated with firearms applications.
All right.
Good for her.
Good.
I will tell you, just from talking to residents, I know there are a lot of people who have filed for the fire.
And apparently that's her major role in the division, so the reporting is kind of like on the back
I'm
burner.
very glad I got
It's like a
those
5-month
stations
wait
ago.
now.
Yes.
Is it the station commander who supplies that report directly to us? How do we get that report?
The secretary.
Okay.
It's with his name on it, though, station commander's name
Okay.
on it.
They are behind on the reports.
We're like two or 3 months behind now.
Yeah.
Although I will tell you, the reports often are not that helpful, and then when we try to get some additional information, we're always told we can't get it because they're ongoing investigations, and we really don't get useful information. When there are burglaries and the like, sometimes we want to get additional information, particularly if we're worried that it may be a trend, so we can warn residents. It's been very difficult to get the state police to cooperate, giving us additional information. They
Well,
won't.
They just changed station commander there at Kingwood, so I intend to visit and have a sit down with the new station commander.
I mean, I understand that if it's an ongoing investigation, they can't share detailed information with us, but for example, if you ask questions about burglaries, if there is a trend, we should know that. There are certain things that we should know, and we should be able to warn residents. And
There was one, like really close to the township.
yeah,
On
and
the other side.
Yeah.
it's it's been difficult getting that information.
I heard there was just one in Rocktown Road.
Rocktown Hill.
Oh, it's
Rocktown Hill.
Yes.
Okay, correspondence, I don't really have any comments on the correspondence. So if there's nothing else, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pete, you said no?
That would never happen.
Everybody, thank you. Have a nice holiday. If I don't see you at our December 23rd meeting, thank you, everybody, for coming, and for those who are watching, thank you.